Welcome to Central News, I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, the biennial Tauranga Arts Festival is seeking applications for an installation piece of artwork to be showcased at the festival's hub, the Pacific Crystal Palace. Festival organisers want something to grow up, spring from, talk to Tauranga and to significantly add to the aims, the atmosphere and the impact of the Tauranga Arts Festival 2013. Festival Director Joe Bond says they an estimated 20,000 plus will have contact with the space.
Well, we'd like it to be visible and to tell a story and inspire participation, basically. That's what we're after.
Tauranga City councillors are on notice to remove Roundup from the list of approved city sprays because of new research that proves it is much more poisonous than previously thought. Naturopath and spray-sensitive Robin Grierson told councillors the study shows the world's most popular herbicide could be responsible for many ailments. Robin warned councillors that the science is now there for people affected by Roundup, sprayed by council contractors to sue councils that do not take note. The research paper headlined Ethoxylated adjuvants of glyphosate-based herbicides are active principles of human cell toxicity, is authored by Robin Mesnage, Beinot Bernay and Professor Gilles Eric Serlani from the University of Assayen in France, and published in magazine Toxology February 2013. Mount Maunganui lifeguards are mourning the death of a life member who died yesterday. Surf Lifesaving New Zealand is reporting Louis Jourdain, a Surf Lifesaving member for more than 50 years, died yesterday. Surf Lifesaving New Zealand General Manager Mark Weatherall says Louis was a very proud Mount Maunganui Lifeguard Service clubby and was a real pioneer in the development of the IRB in New Zealand. May is Vasculitis Awareness Month and Waikato DHB is working together with Arthritis New Zealand to help Waikato residents understand the rare autoimmune condition. The two organisations are hosting an information seminar on living with vasculitis at Hamilton's Celebrating Age Centre on the 15th of May to outline the different types of vasculitis, fatigue management and advocacy services available. Vasculitis displays will also be set up in the Waikato Hospital and the Hamilton City Library during this week. Dr Quincy says Waikato DHB also wants to use Vasculitis Awareness Month to remind people about the specialist vasculitis clinic run by the DHB's Regional Rheumatology Service. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Tuesday will be mostly fine with some morning and evening fog and light winds. Your expected high is 20 and an overnight low of 8. Tauranga, your Tuesday will have fine weather and light winds. Your expected high is 20 and an overnight low of 11. Just ahead, the Hamilton Mayor on the draft annual plan. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. I spoke with Mayor Julie Hardacre to get the latest updates at the Hamilton City Council. What is the update on what's been happening with the Hamilton City Council since we last spoke?
Well, we're very busy. We're always very busy. Lots happening. Sometimes it's actually quite hard to keep up with it all. But we're really full into the district plan at the moment. So submissions have closed and the staff are working through analysing all those and categorising them. I think over 50% of them are about the Temple View area. So that'll be interesting because that's a very important area of the city and it's got some historical and character significance and there's plans for quite significant changes up there. So that'll be a big one. And the Ruakura, of course, the Ruakura structure plan, which has been debated over many years now. There's submissions on that. So we haven't yet got the full breakdown. Staff are very busy with all of that, but the commissioners will start their hearings, I think, around about August. And that will be then when the submitters come and actually present their submissions to the commissioners, who will be the people making the decisions on if there'll be any changes to what we've put out.
What were some of the things that weren't so heavily submitted against?
Yes, well, flooding. A lot of people last year had some concerns about the flood plan. What the council's required to do is to identify areas in the city which have a propensity to flood once in 100 years, which sounds rather remote, but of course we had a recent example only a couple of weeks ago of flooding areas in the city. So some people have submitted on that. Some people have also submitted on the Central City Plan and some of the proposals we have for that. High density versus greenfields is always a popular topic, trying to get that balance right. We've got a plan that says we want 50% infill and 50% greenfields as we develop the city, and people have particular views about that. So generally those kinds of things are the main topics.
And what is happening with the development of the city centre?
So we've got a Central City Plan, so that's a land use and zoning plan, and that's part of the district plan. So it's the first time the council's had such a plan. That's very important as cities grow, and how we want the inner city to grow in terms of the commercial aspects of it, the residential aspects in the inner city, and where we want culture and civic sort of events and things like that to be held. So some of the things about that are to do with building height, the look and feel of buildings, how big that area might be, those kinds of things, pedestrian flows. So they're all identified in the plan, and I think generally people are very supportive of what's in the plan, but there'll be a few little bits and pieces, particularly the developers will have really good insight on what do they think might need tweaking. So I'm looking forward to actually reading those. Some of the submitters go to an awful lot of trouble with these submissions, and that's good because that helps us work out whether, have we got it right or not. And that, of course, will be the Commissioner's decision. But I think some of the submissions will be very helpful.
Now, the Waikato River runs right through the heart of the city and is much an icon of the city. What's happening with the river plan?
So this is another big piece of work, and this has been a long time in the making. Some people would say in Hamilton it's been decades in the making because, of course, if I look back over 30 years ago, the first report to Council came about what should we do with the Waikato River, 16 kilometres that runs through our city. And interestingly, there's been about 30 reports done on the centre of the city and on the river over those last decades. So, and some of them make wonderful reading, actually. I have read them all and they're fascinating to read. So finally, we have signed off on a process to develop a plan for the Waikato River. And this is about, what's our vision and aspirations for the way we engage with the river? How does the city fit with the river? Why don't we do more things with it? What should we have on it? Should we have tourism? Should we have river taxis? Should we have development? Should we have walking bridges, boardwalks, bush? What? None of these questions have been answered, and the purpose of this plan is to determine what should happen. What we've done is a technical report. So that's a big report that we did middle of last year, where we got the experts in and they looked at all the technical engineering sort of issues on the river and the river banks, because we have certain impediments for development across the river, the steepness of the banks, the makeup of the soil, the river levels go up and down. Then those are controlled by Mighty River Power for, of course, power generation. So all these sorts of things, iwi considerations, cultural significance. So that big technical report's been done, and what that's identified is there are 4 key sites across the length of the Waikato River in the Hamilton city that we can plan for and do things with. So the group that we're bringing together, which will include a number of external people who will provide a useful contribution, that group's going to work up a plan, a vision and a plan for projects over the coming decades that we can gradually work towards delivering. So look, I'm really excited about this because this is something that I have wanted for a long time, and when I go out and test with the public, when I talk to them, what's the number one thing you want for Hamilton? The river, they say. What's happening with the river? So I know this is something people will be very excited about, and of course people will get their chance. I'm sure that we're going to have a day where you can come along and tell us your dream, and we'll see if we can plug it into the plan. So watch this space, but it's pretty exciting.
Do you think that Hamiltonians utilise the river enough?
Well, what we know is they actually do use it a lot. The walking tracks and cycling tracks across the river, of course, run the whole length of the city. So you can start up the top of the city and you can go all the way down to the Hamilton Gardens on the river, walking or cycling, and they're very popular. A lot of people row on the river or take boats out on the river. And of course we use it for tourism activities and events, which is great. And kids swim in it, which is also great down by the Hamilton Gardens and Wellington Beach, popular for swimming. So I think people use it also for reflection. I do that, take the dogs for a walk, find the seat and just sit there, and it's beautiful. It's hard to believe something so beautiful and so natural is right there on our doorstep. So I think it is well used, but the idea of this plan is to actually work out how we can make it more an integral part of our city instead of that river over there behind the bush and the trees, you know. So that's the idea. So I think it's going to be great.
For more information, visit hamilton.co.nz. Up next, we talk with the Waikato Regional Council. Welcome back. This is the last week of our local government reform special, and tonight we have the chairman of the Waikato Regional Council.
And what about greenhouse gases?
Well, greenhouse gases come into lots of areas that we do. It can affect our water quality out there that's there, because in the upper catchment we have forests that have been cut down and converted. And when you actually take that carbon out, there's greenhouse gases, that aren't being absorbed. So, yeah, we do have a responsibility out there to actually how to manage those greenhouse gases, but also how to let the economy grow, but manage the greenhouse gases or manage the environment out there. So there is a real responsibility for us to actually look at all those issues. How specific we get into each of those details is, we're not 100% certain, because we're actually going through a plan change now on water quality, and that some of that will be addressed in that plan change.
Now, the new policy statement is providing good quality local infrastructure, public services and regulatory functions at the least possible cost to households and businesses. So will this make much of a difference to how you govern?
Yeah, we're certainly very aware of that, and some of our cost drivers that we are beyond our controls, like providing a transport service. The fare box recovery now, the government says that we've got to get to 50%. Well, originally we were only down to about 30%, so that's adding costs that we can't do because it's actually put back onto us. And there's costs that come out of central government that we've actually got to find a way to reduce the costs back to the community, but yet even implement some of their policy changes. So it's a very challenging area to be in. But as a regional council, we're up to the challenge of trying to reduce those things and to provide the best service back to the community.
Do you think that councils should have caps on their spending enforced by central government?
Well, in the regional council, a lot of our work is done by targeted rates and people demanding services. So if they put caps on those things, some of the services that we need to provide, we wouldn't get there. An example of that is on our drainage schemes. If there's something that needs majorly done and it might have to be done quickly, you need some special dispensation to be able to go and do some of those things, because those stop banks are their insurance to farm behind them. Or there's even public transport. You can see the importance of public transport, and if there's some caps put on that, because we've got to provide a new service because there's new subdivisions coming into Hamilton, for instance sake, how do we provide those? So we've got to be able to flexibility to be there.
Should councillors and council staff be held more accountable if a decision made by council has resulted in public loss?
Well, there's several examples of that out there, like the Hamilton V8s or the Kypress sewerage things up there. But I believe that if you've actually got good, robust systems in place, and I know we've had a couple of instances out there where our council's been uncomfortable, so we've gone out and got a second or third of opinion to make sure that we actually have all the figures and things right. So. I think at the end of the day, as long as the system's right, it should stay where it lies.
Now, under the new reform, councils will be required to disclose their annual reports, information on the number of staff employed. So how will this affect the Waikato Regional Council, and do you think you will be asked to make changes to your staff?
Well, it won't affect. To me, it won't affect our reporting of staff numbers, because we're very open out there. We're transparent out there. We tell the public every year what our staff numbers are. So I don't see it making any difference at all. And on staff numbers and that, every year when you actually have your annual plan or the long-term plan, people always put submissions in about staff numbers, and we should cut and do this and do that. So the public out there is very aware, and we're very aware of the number of staff that we have to have. But a lot of the staff that we need to have come on contract because we have specific time periods. If we employed them full time, then you've got redundancies and things like that. So we do make the decisions on the best advice, or having the right processes there.
Do you think that the council chief executive should be voted in?
No. I think it should be made by the full council, who actually is in the decision-making role. They understand the role of the intricacies of the council's business, and they should make that decision.
Do you think our council's liability should lie with central government or their ratepayers, or a balance of both?
Well, for us, I'm quite happy to see it lie with us because, we don't run huge debts, and if we need to do something that's out there, we will go out and consult with the public anyway. So, but I do see in the future that it's a possibility that we should actually have, there could be something that lies between both because, the purpose out there of local government could change, so, and I do believe that will change, and that might change how we actually do business.
So what change of the local government reform bill do you think will affect the Waikato Regional Council the most?
Well, one of the things I think out there is that they should give us options about how the community wants to be governed out there, and I think it's important that they give us options out there to show the public that they've got options and let them make the decision of how they would like to be governed locally.
Tomorrow night we have the last part of the interview with Julie Hardacre. Coming up next, not long to enter the AIMS Games. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. The AIMS Games will celebrate 10 years in September, but there is only a few weeks left for intermediate schools and middle schools to enter this year's event.
2 weeks to go today, so we close on Wednesday the 22nd of May. All schools should be in receipt of the registration booklet with the forms and things in there, and they can also get the information off our website, the AIMS Games website.
What are the requirements for teams to enter?
Schools just need to have Year 7 and 8 students at their school, and they need to be a member of NZ AIMS, and then they can enter. So we're growing day by day, which is exciting.
So what is the aims of the AIMS Games?
AIMS stands for Association of Intermediate and Middle Schools. So our aim is to provide a competitive sports tournament in a safe environment for Year 7 and 8 students, no matter what kind of school they go to. So they could go to a college, an intermediate, a full primary, and it's just been part of a massive big sports tournament and a great start for a future pathway into sports excellence.
What different sports games can students play?
We have 16 different sports, so I can run through those. Badminton, basketball, cross country, football, golf, gym sport, hockey, indoor bowls, multi-sport, netball, rugby league, rugby sevens, squash, swimming, tennis and water polo. So there's something for everybody.
How many schools get involved?
Well, last year we had 164 schools competing, which meant that there were over 6,000 11, 12 and 13-year-olds in the Western Bay of Plenty, which was amazing. So this year, with 2 weeks to go, we've already received 45 entries, so 45 schools. Of those 45 schools, 16 of them are new, which is really pleasing. Just as a comparison, last year with 2 weeks to go, we had 15 entries. So we had 15 entries last year, and at that time 4 of those schools were new. So this year 45 entries and 16 new schools. So as you can see, we're growing all the time. So goodness knows what we're going to end up with this year. So it's really exciting.
How competitive do the teams usually get?
Extremely competitive. Schools spend pretty much the whole year training up for this. They put a lot of effort and energy into it. A lot of schools are coming from a long way and spending a significant amount of money, so they really want to come and make it worthwhile. There are schools that come to participate, but a lot of schools bring in specialist coaches, and I think it's really important that the kids learn that when you come to a competitive tournament, you have to put the energy and effort in to make sure you're doing your very best and giving 100%.
What awards can teams win?
So in each sport there's obviously gold, silver and bronze medals for the winners. Then we also have a Fair Play Award, so we're looking at not only your performance on the field but also your sportsmanship, which is really important, and that's your competitors and your supporters and coaches as well, because we want to obviously push out those correct messages and things. Then we also have the overall award, which is the Teammates Award, and that covers a school that is excellent across the board, so they are performing well to a high level, plus they're demonstrating great sportsmanship, organisation, team spirit and all of those things.
How long does it take to organise an event like this?
Pretty much 12 months now, which is pretty great because we've gone international, so we're putting a lot of time into promoting it overseas as well. So, and just organising the whole thing, just coming together with 16 codes, working with them, you know, the facility providers, the portaloos, the marquees, the whole shebang. So hotels and different functions that we have on. Yeah, so no, it's a 12-month thing. We've got a fantastic committee which consists of the 4 Western Bay of Plenty principals plus a representative from each code. So we meet once a month to come together as a group.
What is your highlight of the AIMS Games?
Oh, that's a hard one. There's so many highlights. It's just such an amazing experience. Probably seeing all those children, 6,000 children coming together, representing their school with pride, just that whole feeling of excitement when they get here, the buzz, the enthusiasm, and just for them to have the opportunity to represent their school with their friends and be the best that they can be. Yeah, I think that's probably my highlight.
How can local businesses get involved?
Local businesses are great actually, so we work in well with lots of different local businesses. I do have people popping into Sport BOP all the time saying, you know, this is our service that we provide. So if anyone out there is watching and they've got a great business that they'd love to be part of the AIMS Games, definitely give me a call. All my details are on the website. We really like to engage with the community. We feel that AIMS is for the whole community and it brings everybody together. You know, motels, restaurants, movie theatres, swimming pools, you name it. So yeah, it's definitely a community event.
Last year for the opening ceremony you had inspirational speakers Mahi Drysdale and Sarah Walker. Who can we expect for this year's opening ceremony?
Well, I don't have anyone confirmed yet. We're just working on that. So yeah, last year they were just so incredible. We were so lucky that the AIMS Games fell on the back of the Olympics just finishing, and just to get those guys along with their gold and silver Olympic medals was just incredible. And I just thought, what other country could you be in the world where medalists from the Olympics would be so accessible to come to your event? And the way that they just stayed on and engaged with the kids throughout the week was just incredible. You know, how many kids get to say they played touch rugby on the beach with a gold medalist? So yeah.
Looks like it will be a fun sporting event for intermediate students. And remember, entries need to be in by Wednesday the 22nd of May. That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved. So like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around the regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.